What's up, bro?
All right. Get it going here. Let it fire up. Yeah, it didn't bother me. I mean, it kind of is what it is.
My sex appeal radiates.
Your sex appeal radiates, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I don't,
All right, so we'll get going. Getting some of you joining in here at Highlands Brewing. Right on 4:00. Excellent. Got a quick workout in this afternoon. There they go. Hello, Roger. So we'll let a few of you get on in here before we start rolling. But welcome in.
I just had an idea.
Oh, you did? Yeah. What's your idea?
It's a secret.
Hello. Hello, what up? Many of you joining us. See, like Roger goes, I bought the wings, haven't tried them yet.
What you waiting for, Doc?
You are in for a treat, man. I bought 3 pounds. I'm going to grill them tomorrow. I hope. I'm hoping to get all 3 pounds tomorrow. We'll see. 3 pounds is a lot, man.
Yeah, it is. But, you a flat guy or a drumette guy?
Drumette for sure.
Right.
But the lady prefers the drums, so I end up eating the flats half the time because let's be honest, what difference does it make?
No, it makes a difference now.
Does it?
Yeah.
Excuse me. All right. Hi there, Darlene. Welcome in. Hey, it's Phil.
Where's the beer?
Phil Blackstone's joining us. All right. One of my oldest friends.
I was like, why do you act like you know Phil?
No, I know Phil. Phil is a wonderful human being that served this country very well, a West Point graduate.
When did you graduate from West Point?
What was that? Probably 02, I guess. 01, and went right overseas.
I said that because my godbrother graduated from West Point.
Yeah, Phil is the smartest human being I've ever known in my life. Like the most intelligent person I've ever known.
Really?
We were in high school. We were like, are you a computer?
Okay, I was going to say, I know several of your friends and...
02, yeah, that's what I thought, yeah. Phil...
So he's legit smart, not just because...
No, he's...
Because I know some of your guys.
No.
I'm like, so you're the smartest friend?
No, Phil's legit, elite level intelligent.
So he graduated in 02. I think my...
Phil's the kind of guy that almost scored a perfect on his SAT. Like that type.
Really, dude?
Yeah. And then goes off and goes to West Point and now is some super fancy engineer or something that I don't even understand how it works.
Then that probably means you'll become a brewer someday soon.
At some point.
And start brewing beer.
Yeah, but welcome in. Glad you guys are here as we get rolling here from Highlands Brewing. And of course, for those of you joining us, we are always out here every Friday at 4:00. Going to be going for a couple hours. Jacques is going to leave a little early tonight because his son is going to be making his varsity debut. That's pretty cool.
That is, that's real cool. And he's a junior at DeSoto, as many of you guys know. He's a linebacker. And he made the varsity coming out of what should have been spring ball. And so he made the varsity, but he hadn't been able to practice for most of the year. He's had this teeniest of tiniest tears in his patella tendon, which is your knee. And he's had a couple MRIs. He's been rehabbing it. They hadn't been able to practice until this week. And so he played in the JV game last night just to get some reps. And lo and behold, the coach said, hey, strap it up.
Let's go.
Yeah, you suiting up. So I wanted to be there for that. I don't really expect him to play tonight. I think, especially after playing.
Yeah.
I mean, he probably played 3/4 last night. But I expect him to, I kind of want to be there when he runs through that tunnel for the first time and all that kind of stuff. So
that's very nice.
And, I'm real big on this. See, I told Matt, I said, hey, I hope you don't mind. But the reality is I was going to do what I was going to do. And here's why.
As much.
But here's why.
That was like your heads up and be like, hey, this is what's going down. I was like, whatever.
Because... I mean, a lot of y'all know, maybe you don't, there's certain things in life where this is only going to happen once. All right. Yeah, he'll be on the varsity next year and he'll run through the tunnel next year. But this will be the first one. Next year won't be the first one. It'll be the 5th or the 6th one. And it's big to me, because my parents got divorced when I was 6. And I've told this before. I used to spend every summer with my dad. in Cincinnati or Columbus, which is why the Cincinnati Reds were my favorite baseball team for a long time.
Yes.
Because I was spending the summers there during the height of the Big Red Machine. So go figure. But here's the deal. Even though me and my dad got a great relationship, we spent all that time with him. Guess how many times he got to see me do anything? None. None. So that's why it's always been a big deal for me to take my kid to school, take him to the doctor, take him to the dentist, go to his practices, whatever, because my dad would have loved to do that, but he was 7 or 8 states away.
Well, very cool.
That's probably more than you wanted to know. But
no,
hey.
I think it's a big deal. Like when Maddox, I was living in Alabama when my son, who obviously lives here with his mom, had his first T-ball game. It was a May, and I didn't have any reason. I just told him, I walked into the office like, hey, I'm going to take Friday off because I'm going to Texas to see my kid play T-ball. Like in his first T-ball.
That's
like, there's no way I'm missing that. You know?
No. Matter of fact, it's great that you did that. Now I'm going to tell y'all something else because Matt made me think of this.
All right.
From the time my dude was probably 6 years old until he was probably 11, I came up with this thing called Father-Son Appreciation Day. And what we would do is we'd pick a day, like a Tuesday, usually Tuesdays because the Cowboys didn't have to practice on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And we'd hang out all day. You're like, but that's a school day. So I'd go up to the school. And I remember this distinctly because it happened one time. I went up to the school and the principal said, hey, Mr. Taylor, how you doing? What are you guys doing? Blah, blah, blah. I said, I'm going by to pick up his homework because this is Father-Son Appreciation Day and we about to go kick it. And the principal looked at me and said, oh my God, I wish more fathers would do that with their sons. That's a great idea. And I was like, yeah, it is. And we used to have a blast. We go do whatever, go-kart riding, go to a baseball game, just hang out, eat all the stuff that you ain't supposed to eat and make a day of it. And again, that all goes back to my dad not being able to do that for me. And I wanted to start that deal where when he gets to be a dad, he'll feel like that's kind of like what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Whether he's with his baby's mama, married, divorced, whatever.
Make it happen.
Yeah.
You can make it happen. So as we mentioned, we're out here at Oak Highlands Brewing. And for those of you who may be watching and thinking about coming out at some point, make your way on out, man. They have some really good beers here. As a matter of fact, they have 2 beers that they'll be tapping tonight for the first time ever. And Oak Highlands is located off of just north of 635 off of Miller Road and 635. They consider this the Lake Highlands area of real North Dallas, essentially Garland. Now, the 2 beers that they'll be tapping tonight, I'm looking forward to trying both of these. Uh-oh, what's wrong? What do you need?
Oh, I'm on 2. I'm sorry.
No, you're on 4.
Oh, am I?
You need to be more?
Yeah.
Oh, your headphones aren't on is what you wanted. Yeah, so is that better for you right there? Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the 2 beers that they'll be tapping tonight here at Oak Highlands that'll be available for a while are actually really interesting. They're going to have a collab that they did with Intrinsic. And for those that don't know, Intrinsic Smokehouse and Barbecue is also a brewery located on the square in downtown Garland. Those dudes are making some really good stuff. Carrie and Travis out there brewing really good beers. But they did a collaboration. It's a barrel-aged quad, so a quadruple. Well, we talked about this, like you have the Dubel, you have a Tripel, you have a quad, and then the quad is basically a monkish Belgian-style beer that essentially means it's 4 times the ABV. So it'll start out as like just a normal Trappist style, and then as you get into the Dubels and the Tripels and like freaky deep.
What about the Chappelles?
There's a Chappelle show. Yeah, so the quad is just like, it'll be a really boozy, which is going to be crazy because quads are boozy anyway, and they barrel-aged this. The beer they're releasing tonight is called Quad Blessed Texas.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay.
And they have the bourbon barrel-aged variety here at OHB, and then at Intrinsic, they're doing a rye whiskey barrel-aged version.
All right.
And then they are also releasing a firkin of the vanilla porter with coffee. And a firkin is basically something that you can either sit beer or run beer through so that it'll pick up the flavor of whatever you're putting in there with it.
So a more coffee porter.
Right. And so their vanilla porter normally is a little roasty, but the vanilla is obviously very prominent. They brew it with the real vanilla. And so then when you run it through a firkin, and I didn't ask them, I'm assuming it's coffee beans.
Right.
You know, and then it would pick up the flavor even more so and be very coffee forward. Like anything you put in a firkin is going to really push that. It's going to be the forward of whatever's in the firkin essentially. But yeah, they have those out here. Yeah. So if you're going to make it out here, come on out and check us, hang, enjoy some beers with us, or you can, of course, enjoy the YouTube live that we have going on. And at least one of us will be here till 6. You're going to bail, but that's okay. At some point, everybody's always asking me, because you have your top 10 beer list. And so I get a lot of people.
Not only do I have my top 10 beer lists, next week I'm coming out with my top 10 stout list.
Wow, look at you. So fancy. So people always ask me, so I spent some time today going through, because it's really weird for me, because a lot of the types of beers that I tend to like a lot are, Russian Imperial stouts, really hard to find sours, just beer that's made really well, and a lot of the hazy IPAs and whatnot. So one thing that I noticed, and we'll get into this a little bit more later here on the show, is out of the thousands of beers that I've had locally, the top 10 are coming from like Turning Point and Celestial and False Idol. And because it's just the ingredients that go into this are more expensive. We talked about this. And so I was like, well, I can't just have a top 10 and nothing but those beers. So basically I picked one beer from 10 different breweries that I like the best. And so we'll go through that in a bit.
I like that. That actually gives me another idea that I'm going to share with Matt, but not with y'all.
Sorry, guys. That's what happens when you do a live podcast.
But I will then, after I tell Matt about it, I'll then come back maybe next week and tell y'all about it, because there's an idea I've had for a couple weeks now, and see, he said that means that's a confirmation that I should probably just go ahead and tell him, and then we'll start doing it.
And also, for those of you watching live or that will be listening to this later on, make sure we just launched our website this week. Super easy to find, jamsessionpodcast.com.
I mean, does it get any easier than that?
And we have links to everything that we have available is up there. You can look at all of our sponsors as we grow our sponsor list, and we'll start having making it a little easier to watch specific segments and take you right to things like that. So go check that out. We've got some t-shirts that'll be coming here in the next couple of weeks that will be available to you guys.
Oh, well, I'm perked up on that.
Some Jam Session t-shirts, and I think those will be available on the website as well, jamsessionpodcast.com.
Yeah.
So just make sure you're keeping up with everything there as we continue to grow this bad boy and keep things coming.
I gave them to the t-shirt guy today. Of course, there was a screw up in there, but that's for me to know and y'all to hear about the story later.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know this.
But
I want my money back.
No, it wasn't the t-shirt guy. It was the but whatever. It all got worked out, and normally it takes a couple weeks, but I turned them over to him today for him to do his thing. And so, hopefully 2 weeks from today, we'll be rocking them during the show, maybe.
So I thought we would, as we get the show really underway here, as more of you are joining on the live. And again, we are going to do a Q&A with you guys at some point here on YouTube Live. We've got some questions coming in on Twitter as well. You can find us on Twitter at McMattRadio, at JJT_journalist, and we'll answer some of these questions that you guys have in the chat. But I wanted to start with this because this is something that I find fascinating, that Stephen Jones today finally admitted what we all already knew. And that is the fact that the Cowboys completely screwed up when they did not draft TJ Watt. And Stephen Jones on his radio program, apparently this afternoon, basically admitted that that was one that is kind of tough to, especially when you're going to play a Steelers team like this, that at the time they didn't draft him because they didn't feel that he would be good enough against the run in the scheme they were playing. So instead, they drafted Failure Charlton, Soft Taco Charlton, who's on his, third, fourth team now, and TJ Watt's one of the defensive stars in the NFL.
I see. This is always a really good conversation, but I always think it's a flawed conversation. And here's why. I don't think, based on what we've seen, I won't just assume that the TJ Watt that Pittsburgh developed would be anything remotely close to the TJ Watt that Dallas developed. I mean, I just don't. Pittsburgh, throughout their history, has taken these undersized guys,
right,
who are 250 pounds, because they played the 3-4 for 100 years. They know exactly what to do, how to train them, how to convert them, how to make them into the dogs that they become. Dallas don't have no history doing that. And so I think it's a cute little story and a cute little argument.
A cute story.
But
it's so cute.
But
cute little Steven.
Based on what we've seen, I refuse to believe that the TJ Watt the Cowboys would have drafted would be anything remotely close to this terror coming here.
It could be. And so I was trying to find it. And John Machota, our buddy who's with The Athletic now, this dude listens, I swear, to every Cowboy interview on anything ever.
Does.
And then he transcribes it. So here's what Stephen Jones actually said, because Machota has it. He says that TJ Watt was in serious contention to be their first-round pick, and I wish we would have done that. Then went on to point out how Watt would be a great fit in their current defense.
What year did TJ
That was
Watt?
2017.
See, again, man, who was standing on the table? Rod Marinelli.
I want Taco. We came to an agreement. Taco said he would not be a soft taco with me.
He'd be a hard shell taco.
Yeah. He was going to be hard. He wouldn't crack.
And Rod Marinelli, who's a really good dude, he's not everyone. He's like most football coaches, man. He is stubborn as hell. And here's what happened.
Apparently.
He couldn't see TJ Watt being what he envisions a 4-3 defensive end being.
Uh-huh.
And so he's like, nah, can't do it. Can't do it. It doesn't fit what we do. And see, there's some sense in that at one level, okay? But at another level, there's not a lot of sense in it because good football players, especially pass rushers who are hard to find, you figure out a way to make them play. That's at one level. But another level, and I'm being serious here because we've seen it. You're a great man-to-man corner, Matt. You run 4-3. You got great size.
Oh, yeah, dude. Look at me.
Okay. Great in man press.
I'm the best.
You can't play zone worth a flip, dog.
Gotta calm down.
I mean, it just is what it is, man. You struggling zone. Up here, you're not as bright, but you got great athleticism.
This guy.
And so
Jesus.
but you got all the measurables, dog. But we play 85% zone. You ain't worth a damn to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We draft you in
fair.
the first round. Everybody's like, oh, we got the second coming. He's gonna be a great corner. Yeah. And then 2 years later, man, McLaren can't play worth a damn. So we cut you after 3 years, and you go over there to Juan's team. All Juan wants to do is blitz and play man press. You get 5 interceptions your first year. Everybody's like, what happened to McLaren? Nothing. He got in the right scheme. One that could take advantage of his skill set. So scheme does matter, but you can't be a slave to the scheme.
I agree. It's just, I think it's unfortunate now when you see what TJ Watt can do and you look at the scheme that they do play now. And I agree with Stephen Jones now.
Dude, what about Minka Fitzpatrick? It's the same thing.
Yeah, Minka would have been great,
It's the
especially
same
for the
thing.
cost that it cost. I would have loved if he was here in
But
Dallas.
why? But I'm saying
Juan Thornhill. There's a lot of different guys that they have passed on throughout the years or had an opportunity to get in recent years that they didn't, that now you can look at and say, but to your point, you always look at it and you say, well, they're great with the Steelers or the Chiefs or the Dolphins before they traded him to the Steelers. How good would they have been if they were in Dallas? Or would, like here's a great example. What if Jordan Lewis or Cheeto had gotten drafted by another team? Would they be better? I don't know. Probably not is our thought because we see what they can do. But how do we know?
Well, let's give them credit for somebody. If Michael Gallup gets drafted by somebody else, is he the same, kind of dynamic? Because here's a 3rd round pick. It wasn't like a bunch of people was like, oh, Michael Gallup, we got to make sure we get him. Is he a dynamic player somewhere else who's really good deep ball guy?
Right.
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. But I do know when you got a raggedy, Rudy Poot, terrible defense, and then you see TJ Watt over there who was available, and then you see the guy that you took. What do you call him? Soft Taco Charlton?
Yeah, soft taco, man. He sucks.
Then it's a heck of a lot easier to play that game. Now, we'll tell you this. Taco Charlton with the Chiefs is better than he ever was with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
And better than he ever was with the Dolphins.
True.
And that could be one of two things. One, he finally got to a team and a scheme and a coach that spoke to him and it made sense. That's number one. Or two, he said, I got to pull my head out my ass or I'm going to get cut from this league and I like fancy shoes.
I mean,
You know
fair
what I'm
enough.
saying? It's one of the two.
Maybe he woke up and the light went on. I don't know. But it is that question. Anytime you see the Steelers, especially coming to town against the defense that the Cowboys have been rolling out there this season, and you see some of the playmakers, and obviously TJ Watt is a big part of that, it is hard to not think, what if?
No, it makes sense. I'm not poo-pooing it, even though it sounds like I am.
Especially
But
from
I'm
the
not.
lineage that he comes from, knowing that he's got a brother who had shown he will do whatever it takes. Now, obviously, he's run into injuries in the course of his career, but the fact that the guy will put himself out there
You know what, man?
at a high level and knows how to train to be at that level of greatness.
I think the other issue is, and I knew this at the time because they told us, Like, we haven't seen him play with his hand in the dirt enough. We don't know if he can play the run enough. You just ask yourself, man, what's harder to find? I mean, a legit pass rusher is one of the hardest things to find in the NFL.
That's also true.
You always err on the side of the legit pass.
Yep.
Guess what? I can go find me a first and second down run stopper in the 5th round. I can find some guy to run out there and stop the run. I really can. Elite pass rushers got bend, that ability to dip your shoulder,
right,
maintain your speed, pop up around the tackle. I mean, there's a reason why the over and under is 3.5 sacks this week against Terrence Steele.
I'll take the over.
Hey.
He may set the record for sacks by a single guy in a game.
6.
No, because I think if he has that'll never happen, because if that became a problem, McCarthy has shown, I think, okay, yeah, you want Zach Martin at guard, but I think if Terrence Steele starts getting blown up like that, they'll move Martin out to right tackle pretty quick.
They might.
But they don't have a choice. You can't get whoever it is, Cooper Rush or Garrett Gilbert killed. Or maybe you do, and you're like, we'll put in Rush.
I was going to say.
And then Rush comes in and he gets killed. And you're like, Cedric Wilson, we wanted him to throw the ball last week. Why not put him in a quarterback?
If a spare quarterback falls in a football force, does anybody hear
it? The age-old question, I guess. So again, we continue. And for those of you joining us on YouTube Live, welcome. Thanks for jumping on. We are here, as we always are, on Fridays from 4 to 6 o'clock at Oak Highlands Brewery. It's located in Lake Highlands area of Dallas, off of 635 and Miller Road. Very easy to find, very easy to get here to join us. They got some new beers they'll be tapping today. Which, by the way, which one do you want? You want the vanilla porter firkened?
Yeah. I don't want anything that's firkened.
Because we're going to have to text him. I thought he was going to bring us some beers, but maybe not. I don't know.
Okay, I thought it was just me, but hey.
No. I'm always thinking, like, I'd like to drink a brew, if that's okay.
I'll have one.
Yeah, I'll have one or two.
I'm going to have one.
It just depends. As I like your smile because you're on camera. It's always the best. Yes. So again, we'll take some of your questions on YouTube Live here in a bit, but let me shoot over a text so they know to bring us some brewskis. Yeah, because they do have a couple of new beers today. And for those of you that are just joining us that didn't hear earlier, one of them is a firkin of their vanilla porter, firkin with coffee, which will end up being really good. I'm looking forward actually to trying that one as well. And then the other one that they're tapping is a collaboration that they just released, tapping today between Intrinsic and OHB, which is a bourbon barrel aged quad, which, I'm like, man, quads to me can be boozy as they are. And you put that thing in some barrels, that could be potent. That could be potent.
Yeah.
So let me shoot this off and ask if we can get some beers.
And so you might start to feel impotent and no telling what happens.
Well, let's see. Can we get a couple? You want one of the new beers too? You want to try that one? The vanilla porter and the firkin? Why not?
Hey, Patrick says, love you guys. Thanks, bro.
Thanks, Patrick.
Let me see. Who else is there? Adrian Mendoza was.
Oh, look at you. You're watching on your own phone.
See how I did that?
That's crazy.
Was Van Der Esch a one-year wonder? I don't think so, man. He did break his collarbone, dog.
Yeah, and he was banged up last year, so it's hard to know. But then my concern is, and we'll see.
He's going to have a short career.
Yeah, see another Sean Lee.
Listen to me. I'm not wishing a short career. But it's hard to believe he's going to have a long career, given that he's got neck problems already, and he plays linebacker. That seems like a bad combo to me. He's going to be a very tough second contract because of that. I believe in that football phrase. If you've seen that dog hunt as a puppy, he'll hunt as a big dog.
Why is that fly over here?
I don't know, man.
We don't smell. I showered before I came here.
I did too. And we're not talking any BS. So,
no, I agree with you on Leighton Vander Esch. We'll see how long-term his career plays out, but you've already missed a chunk last year. You missed a chunk this year. And you do start to wonder, at least I do, are you, for whatever reason, that Sean Lee type player who, for who knows why, but your body just betrays you. Okay, but when you're healthy, you'll play at a very high level, but is it going to be enough to offset the value of the position they need you to be?
I don't know. Nobody knows. Now, Adrian, be honest with me. And since I'm looking and you're on here, just answer the question. Yes or no? Did you listen to the podcast yesterday? This morning? It's okay if you haven't, because on Whispers from the Star, we addressed some of that. That news you can't see here, we get anywhere but the Jam Session podcast on Fridays, whenever you listen to that thing.
Yeah, so make sure to download it and check that out. It released this morning.
Yes. So I'm serious. There's an answer in Whispers from the Star about Leighton Vander Esch and why he hasn't been perhaps as dominant as you or I or us think he should be. He's been good, but we think he can be better. So go check it out and then let me know what you think.
All right, before we move on to our next one, I want to address this because Craig goes, I skipped the penis tattoo podcast. I have to tell you this. So I talked to my wonderful, lovely, innocent mother last night.
I thought you were going to say your lady friend about it.
My lady friend doesn't. She lives with me. Are you kidding me? But my mom calls last night and I talked to her for a bit and she goes, by the way, and there's this pause. She goes, I thought the penis tattoo was hilarious. And I was like, isn't it? It is funny. And so my mom, my sweet little mom, thought it was hilarious and loved the conversation. Okay, so if my mom approves, trust me, that means all of you guys can listen to it and it'll be okay. Because there are things that we've talked about or little whatevers before that my mom just never addresses.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like my dad will call her something and be like, oh, that one thing, and my mom won't say anything. But the fact that she brought that up, I thought, you know, you got the seal of approval from that. And then somebody else asked, will we ever be over on the Fort Worth side? We're hoping to, at some point here soon, maybe get out there in Fort Worth and do something. But if you own an establishment or know somebody that owns a place like a brewery or a bar in Fort Worth that would love to have us come out regularly, please let us know and we can make that happen. But
you know why? Because we own it. We can do whatever we want.
We can go anywhere. It's great. We don't have to worry about it. Nobody's coming in to kick open the door and tell us what's happening. Thanks, man. No worries. So here we go. This is what we were talking about. One of the new beers that they have just tapped. Well, so they're running it through a firkin. So it's a firkin.
Thank you, sir.
A coffee firkin of their vanilla porter, which for those that haven't had their vanilla porter, to me is up there as one of the best porters in all of North Texas. It's a really, really good porter.
Boy, that's got a strong smell.
Yeah, this will be super coffee, but you should still get some of the vanilla. So let's all give this a sip if we could. Ooh, that smells delicious.
Man. Now, y'all know me.
Damn, that is awesome. Holy crap, that's good. That is really good. I like it. Wow, that is good.
I like it because it's got that bitter end from coffee at the end. Coming down your palate. Normally, I don't like that. Like on those West Coast IPAs, I don't like that.
Holy crap, that is good.
But this I liked. It got some kick at the end. It's kind of smooth with that vanilla at the front.
Yes,
and then it's got that bitter kick at the end.
Hey, well done, OHB.
And Matt is sitting over here like, Taylor's talking beer like he actually
knows. Look at
it.
you. Look at you. So, and yes, somebody asked, are you guys always planning to do a live every Friday? Yes, we're going to be out here live, and we'll be doing a YouTube live every Friday from OHB, at least for the next few weeks. I know some of you are familiar that we are going to be filling in on the Ticket, Sports Radio 96.7 and 1310 The Ticket. We will be doing an afternoon show in place, filling in for the Hard Line on Black Friday, November 27th. And we also have some dates in December where we'll be filling in on the Ticket on that Friday. So we will not be doing the live show on those dates, but we'll figure it out.
Check this
and
out.
Let you guys know.
Check this out. I just thought of something to help you guys. We'll put on the website where we're going to be. How about that? You know why?
Check that out.
Because we're the bosses of the website, and all I have to do is text the webmaster. Go ahead, dog. Add this, bro.
Yes, so that'll be great.
Being a boss.
That'll be great. James says, sounds horrible. You obviously don't know good beer, James. So I will tell you this.
What sounds horrible?
Check out the website, jamsessionpodcast.com. It just launched this week, jamsessionpodcast.com. That way you will see all those types of things, all those events that we have coming up for you that'll be available for you in our schedule of how that is. But one thing that I really wanted to get into here, because I'm curious your thoughts on this. I think this is something that's interesting to me anyway.
Okay.
Because there's almost like a fork in the road between the Steelers and Cowboys franchises, between Pittsburgh and Dallas. And I think if you go back, that fork was Super Bowl 30 when the Dallas Cowboys beat the Pittsburgh Steelers in the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Since then, Dallas, as we famously know, has not appeared in a Super Bowl, has not even appeared in a conference championship game. But a franchise that at some point was right there neck and neck with Dallas since 1995, has won 2 Super Bowls, has been in 3 Super Bowls, and has appeared in 7 AFC title games. And it's interesting because you look at what the Steelers, I thought last year is a great example of this. The Steelers last year at one point were playing their third string quarterback. Ben Roethlisberger hurt his elbow or whatever it was early in the year, so they've got to run with the backup. I think it was Mason Rudolph at a point. He gets hurt, and they bring out the kid from Samford, Duck Hodges. They bring him out. They're playing that dude. Pittsburgh finishes the season last year 8-8. Dallas is on the way to 2-14, 3-13.
Okay, this is a great question. It's a great conversation.
I think it is. You're welcome.
And I can tell you guys, in my opinion, exactly why that is. And I'm being serious. I don't really even think it's all that complicated. Number one, the Steelers are one of the most stable organizations in sports. Now, you could sit there and go, well, the Cowboys still got the same general manager.
Family owned, yeah.
No, it's deeper than that. And here's why it's deeper than that. When Mike Tomlin became the coach, what did they tell Mike Tomlin? They told Mike Tomlin, hey, bro, we're the Pittsburgh Steelers. You can learn the 3-4 if you want the job.
Right.
We're not changing to the 4-3 because it's Minnesota with the 4-3, and he's really good at it. Mm-hmm. And he'd been in Tampa with Tony Dungy, 4-3, Tampa 2. Mm-hmm. Hey, bro, that's good. We're the Pittsburgh Steelers. We run the 3-4 defense. All our scouts know how to scout the 3-4 defense. All the coaches we have know how to coach the 3-4 defense. If you want the job, bruh, you go learn the 3-4 defense, and then, all your others, leadership skills and stuff will take place. And so, you know what Mike Tomlin said? Cool. So that's number one, the organization. Now, think about it in Dallas. The organization runs things in Pittsburgh. You conform to the organization in Dallas, in Pittsburgh.
Right.
In Dallas, what do? Hey, Bill Parcells, you want to run the 3-4? Cool. Hey, North Turner, you want to run 3-4? Cool. Wade Phillips. Jason Garrett said, nah, bro, we're going back to the 4-3. And that's like a lot of organizations. So the Cowboys aren't unique in that. But every time you flip-flop like that, like they're doing right now, it just destroys your team for a minute. Just for a minute, because you got to change the personnel. Scouts got to get guys who the coach wants and all this other stuff. That's number one. All right. The organization runs things in Pittsburgh. In Dallas, the organization is whatever you want. Whatever the coach wants is like a lot of the organization is whatever it gets. Number two, Mike Tomlin and the man he preceded, Bill Cowher, clearly have leadership skills that are so high. And in Pittsburgh, the standard has remained so high.
Yeah.
I think they were 8-8 last year, which was a miracle considering the quarterbacks they had. Now, contrast that with what have we said for years? Sean Lee gets hurt and the defense falls apart. What's up with that?
Very true.
Tony Romo gets hurt and the team falls apart. What's up with that? Dak Prescott gets hurt and you can't do anything. Zeke Elliott goes out and you can't score. When you're built, here it is. Pittsburgh is built around their defense always. Their offense can do this or that. They're always built around their defense. They're always built around that scheme, man. Whereas in Dallas, man, did you hear what I said? Pittsburgh is built around that 3-4 scheme.
Right.
What is Dallas always built around? Stars. And so if your stars don't get down, or your stars have a bad day, or your stars get hurt, then your team has suffered. Because it ain't about the scheme in Dallas. It's about the stars. It's about the personnel.
Yeah.
It's about all that stuff.
Yeah, it's just really interesting to me, the consistency of one franchise versus the other one. And as we have said this before, the reality of it is you can no longer, and I think that's what's interesting about that Super Bowl, is at that time you could look at those two franchises and compare them. And you could say the Cowboys are in the neighborhood of the Pittsburgh Steelers and the 49ers, whomever else you wanted to throw out at that time 25 years ago. You fast forward 25 years, and we've talked about this. The Cowboys are in the neighborhood of the Detroit Lions and the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals and teams like that. They are. That's just part of what they are, right? And so I think it's interesting when you look at a team like Pittsburgh, who has been a model of consistency over the course of the last quarter century in a way that Dallas hasn't. And we've mentioned this. The last time the Dallas Cowboys won 10-plus games in 2 consecutive seasons was 95-96. It's obviously not even going to start a trend this year.
Right.
You look at Pittsburgh, They'll have spells like 12 and 13. They were 8 and 8, sandwiched by a 12 and 11 win seasons. They go 11, 10, 11, 13, 9 and 8. They're obviously on their way to a double-digit win season this year. Their worst season since that Super Bowl, they've gone 6 and 10 twice, 7 and 9 once.
Did they fire the coach after that?
No, because Cowher can stay as long as he wants.
That's what I'm saying.
Cowher left after an 8 and 8 season, and they brought in Mike Tomlin. And Mike Tomlin's worst season is 8 and 8.
No, I mean they have a tradition there. They're not really. Now, just follow me now. I'm not exaggerating when you think about it. They're really not that far removed from the Patriots, because the Patriots have the same thing. The Patriots, it's the scheme. You conform to
in that
us,
sense, yeah.
But the Patriots is a lot more pliable in terms of what they do offensively and defensively. But whatever they do, they get all these anonymous players, jack of all trades, master of none. Why? So that they can adapt to any style you want to play, which is why back in the day, 1 week, Tom Brady would throw 57 passes in a 2-point game, not because they were losing.
Right.
And the next week, they'd run the ball 50 times because that's what the game plan said we should do.
Yeah, that's very true. And so it's just going to be really interesting. And I think all of us anticipate that Pittsburgh's going to whip the crap out of Dallas on Sunday afternoon.
You think?
And it'll be really interesting because anytime they meet, I think you go back to the Super Bowl matchups, which is why Fox is putting this in the afternoon window, even though Dallas is a 2-6 team going up against an undefeated team, because Dallas, Pittsburgh, and maybe younger that are watching, maybe there's nothing to it anymore. But to me, carries out weight to me,
man.
Like, I hate Pittsburgh,
dude.
Not as much as Philadelphia. Don't get me wrong.
No, but Dallas Pittsburgh is one of the great NFL interconference rivalries. Is that how you say it? Intra. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
AFC, NFC rivalries.
Yeah, intercon. I don't know. Who cares?
I just said it's one of
whatever
great
you prefer
because of the Super Bowl trips, and then even the regular season games have been great. I mean, we could have done. I guess we do whatever we want to, but like I remember back in it had to be the late 70s. Somebody look it up because I don't feel like looking it up.
Okay.
And it was Pittsburgh came to Texas Stadium to start the season when the Cowboys had won, 20 straight openers. And I think they beat Dallas 36-28. I remember stuff like that because the rivalry is just that intense. Maybe it's like 80, 81, 82, something like that, when Pittsburgh came here and they beat Dallas in the season opener and ended their, winning streak. I remember when Tony Romo went up there and had the game won and threw a pick late in the fourth quarter.
36-28 was 1982.
Boom! Didn't I tell y'all?
Yeah, 1982, 36-28, Pittsburgh over Dallas.
Yeah, that thing still hurts, man.
Yeah.
We had, hey, dog.
The Super Bowls back in the day, and I wasn't even alive, but you watch the highlights, you're like, oh my God.
That thing was so serious, man. We was betting lunch tickets at school over that game.
And it's interesting too, because Pittsburgh, there are a lot of Pittsburgh fans in the Dallas area.
Oh, I know many of them.
Like, Nick, one of my best friends, Nick, his wife and her family are huge Steelers fans.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous. Like, it always irks me. Like, I see him driving around town, and I'm like, if you like it so much, go back. Why are you here? You love Pittsburgh, but you couldn't wait to come live in Dallas.
I mean, the weather's better here, even though you love your football team.
I'm just saying. Hotter chicks in the South, right? Am I right? Come on.
Yeah, that's been my experience.
But no, I think it's in this game, it doesn't carry any weight. It doesn't mean anything. It's just really interesting for a franchise like Pittsburgh, who once again may find themselves on pace for a Super Bowl. And look, I get it. You think about how Tomlin comes in and wins that Super Bowl in 2008, and they haven't won one since. They lost the one here to Green Bay.
They ain't won since 2008?
No, yeah, because remember the next one they were in was the Green Bay Super Bowl that Rodgers won here in Dallas, and that was it. That's the last time they were in the Super Bowl.
They haven't been to the Super Bowl in 10 years?
Right. But
that's how good they are.
But they've been that close. They've been in AFC. They just lost the AFC title game a couple years ago.
See, they're always – now, part of it is, if you think about it, they've had Roethlisberger almost the whole time, and he's been an elite quarterback. The challenge for them, much like everybody else will be, as Roethlisberger is at the end of his ride now, is how do you remain upper echelon competitive while you search? And this is always the question, while you search for that next franchise quarterback, because you can, y'all just gonna have to deal with it. You could be like the Cowboys, and Romo leaves, and boom, you got Dak Prescott. You good to go.
You go Manning Luck.
Right.
Whatever.
You go Favre Rodgers.
Yeah.
Or you can be like the Jets. Anybody remember Joe Willie?
No, that was way before my time.
You know?
Oh wait, I remember him. I want to kiss you.
Stop. You can be Dan. You can be Miami. Dan Marino. They hope. They hope Tua is the guy. We talking 30 years later, dog. So you ain't guaranteed that just because your guy left, you're gonna get the next guy anytime soon. I mean, even Aikman or Romo took 6-7 years.
That's true. It did. And think of all the guys in between that you had to go through that we forget about that were crap.
Right.
Again, for those of you joining us, we are here at Oak Highlands Brewing, which is in the Lake Highlands area of Dallas. We are just north of 635 off Miller Road or Plano Road, whichever one is interesting. Please wait while we are trying to reconnect. Well, we'll just keep it going. That's unfortunate. That's part of the problem, too, is that the internet connection here, for those of you that are getting some lag or we might have lost you for a second, the internet is, you get people here, they all jump on the Wi-Fi, so we try to do the best we can. But here we are at Oak Highlands Brewing, drinking their vanilla porter that is on a firkin today of coffee, and it is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Somebody says, have you had 512's pecan porter? Yes, I have. Very, very good porter. Damn good porter, as a matter of fact. There, 512 does some really good stuff. I like 512 IPA.
I saw that the other day, and I thought about
porter,
getting it,
you should
and
get it.
I did.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
I thought about because,
All right, so what time do you need to bounce? Like, how long am I going to be alone? Like an hour?
No, my plan is to leave at 4:55.
So I'll be alone for an hour.
Yes,
so
it won't be the first time.
I guess I'll save my top 10 beers for when you leave.
Well, yeah. You can riff on that for an hour.
And then I'll riff on beers, and everybody will be joining and be like, what is this, a beer show? I'm like, yes, it is a beer show.
No, it's I like to describe it. It's what I put on my soon-to-arrive business cards.
Yes.
I forget what it was, but it's something great and profound about great conversations about sports, beer, and life.
That's very true. That is what we do.
Yes, I think that's what I said.
Yeah, so I wanted to do while you were here, let's go ahead and knock out some of these questions. So if you guys have questions about whatever, the show, about us, about sports, you can ask them in the chat and we'll answer some of your questions from the chat. We also got some questions earlier that were coming in on the YouTube that I wanted to throw these out. So let me scroll through and find a couple of these that I thought were interesting. Oh, we had, I thought that was funny that we had that whole conversation about insurance on Twitter today. But this question, and this I think is interesting. Leonard on Twitter tweeted in, and if you're on Twitter, you can find us on Twitter at McMatt Radio, at JJT_journalist. And Leonard asked, with the top 5 pick, which we all assume the Cowboys are going to get at their current rate, he says they need a defensive player, right? And I will say this, and I believe this wholeheartedly, and I've argued the crap out of this for forever.
Let me see where you're going with this.
If they end up with the number 2 overall pick, because I don't think they're going to pass the Jets, and we talked about this the other day, if they have that Sewell kid out of Oregon who's supposed to be a generational left tackle, if he is the number 1 guy on your board, then to me, you take the number 1 guy on your board. Now, we saw this, I thought, with CeeDee Lamb, and I have no idea where he was on their board.
Right.
But let's say CeeDee Lamb was 5th on their board, and Chason, who we all thought they might take out of LSU, was 15th on their board. To me, you look at that and you say, oh my God, like if we had the 5th overall pick, we would be taking CeeDee Lamb.
Right.
Oh, but because we're at 17, I mean, Chason's here, we should take, if you're not going to do it, then don't build a board. You follow your board to a T, you take the highest rated guy on your board, unless to me, it's a situation where say Chason was 15 and Lamb was 14, and you go, well,
I'll even take it deeper for you. The way they do grades, they got some kind of numbering system, but say everybody's numbered together, then you take the best. Then you take the best player. Okay.
You like it, dude. This is awesome.
If everybody's got the same grade, then you take the position of need best. That blew your nose open, bro.
And that's oozy.
That's thank quad for Texas right there.
Yes.
But if they're not all the same, I've been saying, and I ain't no football scout, nor do I play one on TV, nor do I profess to be one. But check this out. You can never, ever go wrong taking the best player.
Right.
You can never go wrong taking the best player because the best player can help you. You can go wrong saying, we're going to pass on a Hall of Fame talent because we need a defensive tackle. We got to get one. You go wrong on that all the time. And so just take the best player. It don't have to be complicated, man. When you take the best player, I mean, you feel good about it.
I agree. And so that'll answer the question for Leonard. Who was an Andrew? And by the way, yes, Lone Star. Lone Star is one of the top, and anybody who owns a beer store will tell you this. Lone Star is probably the best craft beer store in North Texas. So yeah. But he was asking, why can't Dak decline the franchise tag?
He can decline.
Yeah, my understanding is
he don't have to sign it.
He doesn't have to sign it, but he then just sits out, much like we saw with Le'Veon Bell.
Exactly. So yeah, he can not sign it.
But the team owns his rights, and because that's agreed to under the CBA, this is what we can do. So you can either sign this or sit it out. Like, you don't have to play, you don't have to sign it. Right. But if you want to play this year, this is what we're offering you, and you have to sign the tag.
Now you can play hardball and say, okay. I mean, and he doesn't really have to, but the bigger issue is ain't nobody turning down $37 million, bro.
Yeah, no.
Not as a 1 year deal coming off that injury he just had. Ain't nobody turning that down.
See, and I have if the cap drops to where they think it is, then the Cowboys are going to have to just bend over and take this one with no lube, because I don't think you can have a dude on your cap. If the cap drops to 175 next year, how are you going to have a dude making 37.7 on that, guaranteed all the way? To me, you're going to have to sit there and say, look, let's long-term you. What do you want? 4 years, whatever. And then that way you can backload it in the last couple of years, hoping that the cap jumps back up to where it was once that new TV deal comes in. I just don't see how you could do it. And then you could low end it on the deal. Like next year, if they were able to do that, you could structure it where Dak's cap hit next year is like $10 million if you wanted to. You would just have to do like a $55 million cap hit in year 4 or whatever.
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, there's all kind of creative ways to get it done if you need to get it done. And to me, they need to get it done.
Well, they've needed to get it done for a long time. So somebody else was asking safety or corner. See, and that's, look, safety, and I don't know if it'll ever be a priority. Maybe Mike McCarthy will beat the drum for this thing and it'll change. But we've done shows on this where we went through the study of it. And the last time they took a safety anywhere near high was Roy Williams back in the day.
Right.
Now, corner, yeah, okay. And we talked about this on the podcast, that one of them that dropped this week. If you have an opportunity and you're not sold, like say they get a top 3 pick, and I could see this happening. Trevor Lawrence goes 1, Sewell goes 2, and they're 3. Then, do you want a quarterback, or would you like to trade to 7, 8, 9, pick up some extra picks, and then you can get one of those 3 cornerbacks? The Virginia Tech kid, I forget his name, Surtain at Alabama, and there's another one that are kind of viewed in that same kind of group, and the Ohio State guy, you might know him.
Sean Wade.
Yeah, that dude are the 3 cornerbacks that are looked at as 1, 2, 3 in whatever order you like them. And so the Cowboys could probably drop down a little bit in closer to 10 and still get that type of corner while picking up extra picks.
Okay.
That's what I would do. I'm all about the extra picks.
Yeah, I think the extra pick, it's hard to have, I do my best since the team is bad this year, but you have no idea who's going to be available right there. And so you say, yeah, corner makes sense unless there's a pass rusher there, because you got Trayvon Diggs hoping as a second round pick, he becomes a long-term answer. I mean, you draft a second round pick expecting him to sign a 2-year, 2 contracts. So do you want to spend another first round this year and the second round next year? I mean, you can. I ain't got no problem with that. But you also need a pass rusher. DeMarcus Lawrence is getting older. I mean, that's why I say, you have to have these now because they're going to be a bad team all year long. But until you start putting names with it, it's just a little more difficult.
See, now this is interesting because Dylan has asked, he really wants you. He misses the soda. Say it with me now. State of the art. Can we get one?
Really?
I mean, it's right there in the chat.
Really? I don't see it.
It's right there, Dylan, right there. Say it with me now. Come on.
State of the art.
Come on, dude. He wants me. He also asked me to do this. The pure, sweet, 100% the sport talking. So there you go. And that's like it. I mean, you get to see the face. I mean, that's the real way of doing it. So somebody else was asking.
Dylan, check this out. So here's some breaking news for you.
You want a shot?
Check this out.
Jeez.
Because I haven't been on the radio, I haven't been doing soda commercials. I just agreed to terms with the JJT Media Group. How about that? To do spots for soda. So, starting next week, you'll be back able to hear them again locally.
Straight liquor.
As the JJT Media Group does that. How about that?
Yeah. So anyway.
Then it'll be, say it with me now. Steady the hot.
There it is. So you have this one. This is the new
one.
I'm
about to drive, so I'm not having a boozy drink.
This is the barrel-aged Quad Bless Texas.
But
this
I'm going
is
to
straight
smell it.
booze.
I'm going to smell it.
Like, look how thin it is, too, because quads are usually, dude, this
smells like a whiskey shot.
I would ask them to blend the barrels maybe a little more, because this is super boozy. I mean, that is super boozy.
Okay, let me just be honest with y'all. Matt was probably joking when he said it. That's a shot.
No, I wasn't. Like, I'm telling you, because I mean, look how thin it is.
I just sipped it. That's a shot.
I can't. I mean, that's too much for me, man.
I took this much of a sip, and there it will remain.
Yeah, that'll, as my dad said, that'll put some hair on your nuts. I mean, that's that's that type of booze. But somebody had asked, and I wanted to get to this because it was Al up there at the top. Time to dump Zeke to begin building for the future. And I thought this was interesting because we had Clarence E. Hill Jr. from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. We did like a 20-minute interview with him. He was on the podcast that dropped today. And you guys kind of brought that up. I was like, hold on a second, because let's understand something here. Zeke is $25 million dead cap if you walk away from him after the season. Now, you can do it after 2021, and it's a $10 million dead cap. But I mean, there's no way, unless you trade him, that you're walking away and eating $25 million. No,
they're not going anywhere from Zeke. They're not going to trade him. And check this out, dog. One reason you don't trade him, he ain't got no value right now. What's he done? What are you going to get for him? 4th round pick, 5th round pick, conditional 5th. He's got no value right now. He's more valuable. He's like a car, man. He's more valuable to you than the trade in that the dealer's going to give you.
Yeah.
I mean, he just is. And Zeke's not a bad player. This team, as it's currently constructed, is not built for Zeke. Now, I've talked about a lot of things this season. Michael Gelkin from Dallas Morning News had a great stat today. You can find a lot of great stats in a bad season like this. And I can't remember all the stats leading up to this, but suffice it to say, in 2016, Zeke had like 170 carries in the 4th quarter with a lead. And, the next 3 years, he may have had 140, 150, 140.
Yeah.
Zeke Elliott, your bell cow. What is Zeke Elliott supposed to do, really? What was the plan? See, always go back to the plan. The plan, strike quickly with the offense, grab a lead, turn the pass rushers loose, finish it off with Zeke. That was the plan. That's the Mike McCarthy plan. Michael Gelkin pointed out today, Zeke Elliott, 0 carries in the 4th quarter with a lead.
That's amazing.
You can't make this poop up, man.
No, you can't. And that's reality of what it is with the Zeke Elliott situation. So, yeah, Garrett says his buddy Thomas is moving to Cali, loves the show. Both watching right now. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Very cool of you guys, Garrett and Thomas. Enjoy Cali.
Enjoy Cali. They got some beautiful women there.
They do.
And that don't mean you can't stream it and listen to the show there.
I mean, you can listen to the podcast anywhere.
Right.
And you can watch YouTube Live anywhere. That's what's so great about
there you
this.
Go.
We're not confined to the terrestrial limits of radio. We can now do whatever we want, whenever we want. Although my parents did say for us to do that weird, like late night drunken YouTube Live, it'll have to wait for a while because they, the pandemic and all that, they're not having people over. So it'll be a bit.
Okay.
Hey, man.
What if we took a test?
What if we did?
No, I'm saying
live on YouTube.
What if we took the COVID test?
You can stick it up in my nose.
Because my family had to take the COVID test this week.
Yeah, I'll let you know. Yeah, because they are just from some medical history and whatnot. They're super cautious about it, and rightfully so.
Well, they can come over to my house.
Oh yes, they don't go. They don't go anywhere. I mean, we could go and maybe hang out in the driveway. We'd have to see, but be one of those things. Yeah. So it's for those that don't know, Jacques about to bounce. His son is going to make his varsity debut perhaps tonight a big one between DeSoto and Cedar Hill.
Battle for the belt line, baby.
And I can tell you, for those that have never been to Cedar Hill, there's a reason why they call it Hill. There's a giant hill in Cedar Hill. And I know because I did a triathlon there and I had to run up it and bike up it and I hated myself.
Oh, wow. No, I got a lot of respect for you now.
Dude. So when I did this is before I broke my ankle. And so you're listening to me live. Oh my God, I got to hear my voice and then hear my voice.
I wasn't trying to.
Talk about an aphrodisiac. So when I was doing triathlons, I did one in Cedar Hill. And it's funny because I'm not a very good, I wasn't good on the bike. I'm an okay runner, but I'm a really good swimmer. So we swam in Joe Pool Lake. And so I was like, all right, I got to come out of the water at like top 3. And so I'm going all out on the swim. And I smoked them and I finished second in the swim.
Yeah, baby.
Dude, and then you get on that bike and you're starting up that hill and I'm like, oh my God. Like, I don't know how much I got left. And so I'm trying to do that and all these people are just passing me on the bike. But, you know, all I cared about was like, all right, when it's all said and done, was I in the middle of the run and did I get in the top 3 of the swim?
Okay.
And I achieved that.
All right. Well, hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for the support. Sorry, I got to bounce. I'll make it up to y'all somehow, some way.
I'm still going to stay. So
yeah,
you and
he's got his top 10 beer list coming out.
Yeah, I've got my top 10 beer list I'm going to go through. We'll talk some more to you guys that are asking questions on YouTube as I continue here now by myself.
These are not shades. They just look like it. These are prescription glasses.
They're fancy. They're like Ray-Ban fancy. I'll take the price tag. $9.99. God. Like diamond encrusted frames from Jacques. What would you expect? But yeah, I'm going to hang for another hour or so with you guys here as we continue on Jam Session, and appreciate those of you who are jumping in and enjoying what we've got going on right now. We'll still answer some questions, and I'm going to reveal my I mean, this took me forever to put this together, my top 10 local craft beer list. And so we're going to have fun with that. I'll bring you closer. Let me bring you closer to me, if you don't mind, because now that he's gone, we can all do this. See, get over here. Get it. Yeah, if you don't mind helping me out, just push that a little closer there on that bad boy and bring it right on in. Yeah, there you go. Get right up on me. There it is. Oh, yeah. So now here we are. There it is. Oh, I can see the screen so much better from this distance. And I wear contacts. Somebody should give me LASIK. So as we continue, and again, we are out here every Friday from 4 until 6 o'clock at Oak Highlands Brewery. For those of you that are just joining us, we are here on... So Oak Highlands is in an interesting pocket. It's like a distribution work, like warehouse district type thing. And so it's about a quarter mile north of 635 off of Miller or Plano Road, whichever direction you're coming from makes it easier. It's right there for you, very easy to get to. And we're out here. We'll be out here for sure the next 2 or 3 Fridays in a row. And then we're actually filling in on the ticket on Sports Radio 96.7 and 1310. The ticket will be on that show, filling in for the hard line a few Fridays coming up. I know on Black Friday and a couple of days in December when those guys are on dry dock. For those that are new here on the show that might just be joining us, please make sure that you check out our new website. We just launched our website, and you can check that out at jamsessionpodcast.com. You have links to all kinds of different things on our website. We are going to start at some point, I think at the end of next week is it might be a little bit after that. We're going to start selling t-shirts. You'll be able to get Jam Session merch and stuff on the website. So please check that out. And of course, as you can see in the chat, we've got a lot of people that are signing up for sponsors. We really appreciate our sponsors. Our sponsors are the ones that continue to make this possible. So please support our sponsors as they support us. If you are interested in perhaps sponsoring, if you or somebody you know owns a local business, love to talk to you about sponsorship. And you can find out more information. Hit me up at matt@jamsessionpodcast.com. That's Matt, M-A-T-T, at jamsessionpodcast.com. But the time has arrived. It's 5 o'clock. God, I feel like, you know what? Who cares? He's my friend. I'll finish this off for him. Oh, yeah, I'll have some water. That'd be great. Thank you. So a lot of people have asked me over the course of us doing the show, and I've never done this before, but yeah, dude, the Kroger wings are legit. The wings at Kroger are legit. I bought 3 pounds of the mango habanero. Let me say this real quick before I continue, because they have 2 flavors of the wings. One is the mango habanero and the other is the buffalo blue cheese. Some Krogers carry both. Some Krogers only carry one. So they're available at pretty much all North Texas Kroger locations, but not every location has both flavors. So enjoy that. But as I continue with you here, a lot of people over the course of our show have kept asking me, what are your top 10 beers? Thanks, man. Can you put out a list of your top 10 beers? And I thought, that's really difficult for me. So let me take this sip of water while you guys watch. Now, my top 10 beer list, it's hard because to me, craft beer is one of those things. There are beers that I have on my list that I've been seeking out for years and things that I've wanted to try. Like I told the story on the podcast the other day about how I came across Pliny the Younger last weekend. My buddy Ian had it, and I was able to try that. Heady Topper, which that's this tattoo right here, is Heady Topper, one of my favorite all-time beers. Pliny the Elder, King Julius, some of the stuff coming out of Toppling Goliath or Trillium or Treehouse or what have you, right? So there's a lot of those things. It's really hard to get down to 10. So I decided to do my top 10 local beers. So today when I was looking at it, and I had this list of top 10 local beers, and some of the things that I love locally are like Celestial is one of my favorite breweries locally. I love almost everything they're putting out. False Idol, who did the JaM Session IPA, those dudes are absolutely slaying it and making really high quality beers. And then Turning Point over in Bedford, who, Turning Point is one of those breweries that is starting to get national recognition where you can trade some of what they're doing online for some beers around the country. So I started looking at it, I was like, man, I've got like 5 Turning Point beers and 5 Celestials and 5 False Idols that I've rated really, really high. So instead of just doing that type of list, I spent some time and tried to put together a list where a beer from a few different breweries was represented. So here is my top 10 local beer list. And you guys also have to realize I got into craft beer about 8 years ago. All right. So what is it? 2020. Yeah. So I got into craft beer in July of 2012. So a little over 8 years ago. And I've had thousands of beers over the course of 8 years. I've been to hundreds of breweries. And sometimes I remember to write things down and check them in and make notes and whatnot. Sometimes I don't, whatever. But I'm going to start, and this is really in no particular order. I don't know that I could say that one was better, that I would have one that I liked more than the other. But we will have that. And for those of you just joining, Jacques had to leave. His son is about to make his varsity debut tonight. And for the first time ever, DeSoto, Cedar Hill, which is a big one down there, is about to play varsity football. So Jacques bounced and is going to head out. Excuse me. But I thought I would put together this list. So here we go. And again, I'm not going to number them. It's just 10 beers. All right. And you guys can decide which one is which. But Three Nations up in downtown Carrollton, those guys are doing really good stuff. Gavin Secchi, the brewer there, is a really good dude, makes great beer. He's been around the country for a while. And their Talk to Me Goza, I would put up there. Now, Goza, for those of you, we've talked about this on the show before. A Goza is originally a beer out of Goslar, Germany. And it's a lighter style beer, almost like a Berliner Weiss, where it's got a little bit of tartness to it that has a salt on the back end type thing. It's brewed with salt. And so a lot of breweries, to me, that brew them, they do it where it's either too tart or too salty, but not blended well enough to truly, for me, feel like it's a true Goza. Gavin nailed it at Three Nations. And that was one that came out, I think, last year. I don't know if it's still available. They do some fruit and some different off stuff with that Goza. But yeah, man, that one, the Three Nations Talk to Me Goza, was fantastic. Fantastic. I will tell you, my favorite Goza of all time is from a South Carolina brewery called Westbrook. And Westbrook Goza, there's no fruit in it. It's just a straight Goza. To me, is as good as it gets. I mean, it's just phenomenal. Now, next up on the list here, and again, in no particular order, I could be going from 10 to 1 or 1 to 10 or 2 to 6 to 8 to 9 to 1. Who knows? Peticolas, and I think many people in the DFW area are familiar with Peticolas. They've been making some great beer for a long time. Peticolas, I would put the Velvet Hammer up there because Velvet Hammer is one of those beers. If you're not from Texas, I think you can come in. They call it Velvet Hammer for a reason. It's got a little bit of that hot bite to it, while also that malt that brings out the redness in it. And it's just a damn good beer with the boozy kick that works. And every time you have Velvet Hammer, I feel like you drink it and you're like, golly, this is a damn good beer. Like a damn good beer. So those are the two. Celestial. Now, I could put 10 Celestial beers in the top 10 and be cool with it. I love those guys. We're good buddies with them. and they're making fantastic stuff. They just had their second anniversary, and Celestial did one a while back. And see, this is the thing with some of these beers I'm talking about. They're not available anymore. But again, going through the top 10 beer list, Celestial did Finite Field. And Finite Field was an Imperial IPA that they came out with. I was trying to figure out when this was released. See if I can pull it up here. It was released. I had it 2 years ago. I had it when they first opened. So I don't know if they've made that since then. But yeah, Celestial's Finite Field is pretty good. I thought that was a fantastic brew. It was brewed with Victoria's Secret hops, which was fantastic. Really tropical, just a hazy hop bomb, which I liked quite a bit. So that's on there. Deep Ellum. Now, I will tell you this. Before Deep Ellum sold out to Canarchy, which is kind of funny about Deep Ellum because everybody goes, oh, it's local. Is it? Canarchy has a nice portfolio. Like they bought Cigar City, which is why you see them everywhere now, and Oscar Blues, which is why they're everywhere now. And I will say at least their portfolio is like a local craft thing. It's not like InBev, or Miller Coors, who is coming around buying local craft breweries and trying to act like they're local now when they just bought them out. Canarchy at least is somewhat more local, but Canarchy did buy the bulk of Deep Ellum. And I will tell you this, before, when Reardon was there and he was still the guy in charge of it all, and they were brewing some damn good stuff, they came out with the beer. Let me see if I can pull up when this one was made. I had this was from 2016, so 4 years ago, the Fascinating Bellman, which was an Imperial Brown Ale aged in Jameson barrels. And it was awesome. It was absolutely fantastic. Just an unbelievable beer. And the a brown ale is more of like, it's an easy drinking, mild type style with a little bit of nuttiness to it. But man, the booze on that, it just worked. That's one of my favorite Dallas beers I've ever had. One that might still be available, let me check and see, is from a brewery that we actually had on the podcast. And again, for those of you that are jumping in, I'm going down my top 10 beers locally that I've had in the last several years. Some of them are still available, some of them aren't. But one that I had recently, and this is from Odd Muse Brewing. These guys do some really good stuff. We had them on the podcast, and I absolutely loved this beer. It was an Imperial, a double IPA called Never Odd or Even. And I thought it just, the balance of bitterness, it was super soft. It's brewed Galaxy Mosaic. It just worked, and it worked damn well. And I was just a big fan of that one. So that's 5. How excited is everybody? Some of you are coming and going. I get it. Jacques left, so you're stuck looking at my ugly mug, and I apologize for that. I thought about getting a nose job. Actually, I have had a nose job. I should tell you guys about that. Maybe I will, since I got to talk for a freaking hour by myself. But we move along. So those are 5. And again, these are my top 10 DFW beers that I've had in my life. Up next is, and Turning Point is next level, elite level guys. I thought Bednard, that was a collab they did with the brewery out in Oxnard called Casa Agria. And I thought they were fantastic, but you have this one that Turning Point did. And this was one of those bottle aged ones they did that was available in bottles. I think it was about a year ago. Let's check it out. Let's see if I can remember when it came out, because I checked it in. And it was called The Soft Glow of Electric Sex. But The Soft Glow of Electric Sex was a stout. It was aged in barrels with hazelnuts, cacao nibs, and vanilla beans. And it was super rich, super thick, and it was awesome. Absolutely awesome. Because like Turning Point's one of those breweries, like you could sit there, like I mentioned, Bednard. Also, Do Not Adjust the Contrast was fantastic if you're into that. So you've got that. Lakewood Temptress, I think, which was like the original great stout of Dallas, back in the day when it would come out and people would wait in line to buy it. Now you can get it, and they have all these off flavors of it, like, Cinnamon Temptress or French Quarter or whatever it is. There's a variety of those. But the original Temptress, when it first was around, and even to this day, I think it's just one of the best stouts in North Texas. And I'm a huge fan of that one. That'd be on my top 10. I also have couple of more stouts on here from Oak Cliff Brewing Company down in Oak Cliff. They have a beer called Somber. And for those of you that are familiar with Prairie Bomb, the guy who originally brewed Prairie Bomb for a time was the brewer at Oak Cliff and brewed Somber, not exactly like Bomb, but pretty close and pretty damn good. And then I'll close you out with a couple of more. False Idol Brewing, which brewed the Jam Session IPA. I could easily say that's one of my top 10, but reality of it is those guys over there brewed a triple IPA called Driving 88 that when I had it, I thought might be the best triple IPA I've ever had in my life. It was absolutely fantastic. I don't know if they'll do it again. I hope that they do, but it was just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So a triple IPA, I think it was like 12, 13%, but it didn't lose any bitterness and it wasn't boozy. Came through fantastic. And then finally, to round out my top 10 from Texas Ale Project, the Caucasian. And I will tell you this, the Caucasian was a beer when it came out, 2016, 2017 was fantastic. Last year was a little too vanilla for me. I thought it's a White Russian Imperial Stout that they use whole Madagascar whole vanilla beans to brew it. They use American oak chips and cold brewed coffee, and it's a blonde stout, which I think is interesting. Somebody on Twitter hit me up and goes, blonde stout, kind of an oxymoron, no? And not really. I mean, originally when stout was first seen in beer lingo back in the 1600s, it didn't mean dark, it meant heavy. You know, like a heavier beer, higher ABV beer. And then just over the course of time, we kind of adopted it and made it into something that meant dark. But originally in the language, like stout did not mean dark, it meant heavy. And so that's why you'll see, you know, there's a few of them, like Armadillo does Brunch Money, which is a golden stout. Buffalo Bayou down in Houston does, I think it's called White Buffalo, which is a golden stout. So you see golden stouts from time to time. Yeah, let me do more of that porter, the Firkin Porter. Yeah, beer's awesome. Oh, thanks. Yay, my mouse showed up. Now I can navigate. Yeah, so I think it's one of those things where, you know, there's some that are good, there's some that are not so good in the beer world. But if you see a golden stout, generally speaking, all it means is malts. I mean, that's where a beer gets its color from. So you can throw like ambers, for instance, you know, like a lot of caramel malts, which kind of give off like a red flavor and it makes it a little bit more sweet. Dark malts, obviously, in a porter or in the typical stouts that you guys would think of. You know, you see a lot of those types of things which darken the beer. And there's a variety of different malts that you can use, which can do that. And if you don't use dark malts, you can brew a stout without the dark malts that will make it blonde golden. So there you have it. There it is. My top 10 Dallas-Fort Worth beers of all time. And look, man, there's a lot of good breweries in Dallas making a lot of really good beer. You know, Peticolas, I think, is consistently solid with whatever they're doing. Turning Point, Celestial, False Idol are making great beers. Texas Ale Project is doing some really good things. Yeah, somebody asked me, Intrinsic and Garland, I've been there many times. They're making really good beers. Oak Highlands here in the Lake Highlands area is making really good beers. And that's one of the things. Thanks, man. Yeah, Jacques left. I was like, thanks, dude. I'll do an hour by myself, I guess.
Fucking beer.
Indeed. God, that's good. I mean, that is good. That is insanely good. Like, holy crap, that's good. And so for those wondering, while we're here at Oak Highlands Brewing, OHB on my hat, they did a firkin of their vanilla porter. And so they did a firkin of coffee, which I didn't ask him if it was coffee. I'm assuming he meant like the bean, like coffee beans. And holy crap, it's good. I mean, it is really good. I mean, I'm drinking the crap out of this. Now I don't have to drink Jacques. That's great. Yeah, so we have that. So, you know, the beer scene in Dallas, as I mentioned, there's a lot of really good breweries, probably a lot of breweries that you guys aren't even aware of that are out there that can do something good. Not every brewery, like you can go into a brewery and maybe they have 8 beers and you're like, 2 of them I like. And that's fine. Some of them 8 out of 8 you'll like, or 15 out of 15 or whatever it is. But there's a lot of really good beers. You know, Tups up in McKinney is doing some really good stuff with their full grown series, you know, and their DDH series, which really, if you go back to DDH3, was kind of what started the haze craze in this area. You know, we hadn't really had anything that was put out like that at the time. Some breweries had kind of started doing it. You know, it was kind of around the beginning of Turning Point. And then Celestial and False Idol showed up and kind of cornered the market on that level of haze. You know, but Tups, man, that series, DDH series they do 3 through, I think they're on 25 now, is fantastic across the board. I mean, those beers are awesome. So there's a lot of really good local breweries, and you can go all the way north. You know, there's Krutz up in Gainesville. You know, as you come back down 75, you've got Ivanhoe and 903 and Tups and Franconia and McKinney, you know, and Nine Band and Allen and Four Bullets and Richardson. And you can go out east and Thirsty Brothers. And I know they're getting their new tap room in Royce City, and Wood Creek is no longer in Rockwall, but Siren Rock is a new one. They're building a brewery from the ground up in downtown Rockwall called Siren Rock. And those guys are going to do some really good things. From Intrinsic and Garland or Bankhead and Rowlett. You can go out west to Parker County Brewing out there in Weatherford that has a really good peach beer that they do. And as you come back in, like Panther Island, who just won a medal at GABF for one of their beers, and Martin House, who's doing a lot of good stuff in Fort Worth, and Wild Acre and Hop Fusion, and all these. You can go down to Waxahachie now, Railport, and get a beer. And there's so many different good beers that are on the outskirts as you come in, where Dallas is really rising and has become any pocket I feel like that you live in this area. You have 3, 4, 5 breweries that you can put together on a Saturday or a Sunday and make a day out of it, which is really cool. But yeah, as you guys can tell, I'm fairly passionate about craft beer, which is one thing. I love that Jacques has kind of embraced it so much and has really gotten into that and has enjoyed it so much and found a beer that he really enjoys, because that's something that I like to do a lot. Talk about beer. I can talk about beer all day. I mean, you guys can ask any beer questions you want to ask, and I'll be happy to answer them or talk to you guys about beer. We can talk, if you would like, about sports. If you have sports questions, I mean, without Jacques here, this is kind of just an open Q&A at this point. We kind of went over some of the things with Jacques about the Steelers. For those that didn't hear the podcast earlier today, you can catch the podcast. Make sure you jump on and find it wherever you listen to podcasts. In the episode that dropped today, we had a chat with Clarence E. Hill Jr. from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. We broke down Steelers and Dallas. We kind of took a look at the quarterback conundrum that they've run into, whether they're going to go with Cooper Rush or Garrett Gilbert. And the thought, honestly, from Jacques and Chill is they are going to go with Garrett Gilbert, because keep in mind, Garrett Gilbert was here before Cooper Rush. Yeah, Rush was here last year, and then they brought in Gilbert this year when they needed a quarterback, and then signed Cooper Rush to the practice squad while Garrett Gilbert was active. So the idea is that Garrett Gilbert may actually have a better understanding or sense of what's going on with this current, I guess, regime under McCarthy, whatever the hell you want to call it. So the merch is going to be dropping. We ordered a bunch of t-shirts, and we're hoping to get those up at the end of next week. It may be the week after that on the website. So you should check that out at jamsessionpodcast.com, and we will have some t-shirts and some things available. So Justin asks, favorite all-time Dallas Cowboy? Jason Witten. Not even close. I mean, Jason Witten's my guy. I love Jason Witten. He's the only Cowboy jersey I ever bought. I mean, Jason Witten was my guy that I thought if I played, I don't know if you guys do this, but I do this. And this is probably really dumb. But I would always find guys that I would look at and say, man, you know what? If I played whatever sport, I would be that guy. And Jason Witten was that for me for football. Like Rusty Greer was that for me for baseball for a long time. Brendan Morrow was that for me for the Stars. I'll tell you this story. Let me get a sip here. So my brother Mark, my youngest brother, who just turned 30, got married a little over a year ago. And so Mark is good friends somehow with Marty Turco. And so I forget exactly what the story was, but we ended up, you know how like when you get married, you do like a present for your groomsmen? Well, Mark decided to get a suite at a Stars game for all of us, his wedding party or whatever. And so we're at this suite, and Marty Turco comes by with Brendan Morrow. And I've talked to Brendan before because I used to work for the Stars. I did their pre- and post-game shows, so I've been around him a few times. I don't know if you would remember me or not. And I'd been drinking a little bit. I mean, it's a party, essentially. And Brendan Morrow, I'm talking to him, and I go, man, this is so dumb. I told Brendan Morrow to his face, like, I always thought I would be like you if I was a hockey player. I mean, who does that? Who knows what he was thinking? I'm sure he was like, oh my God, this guy, what a clown ass. But that's my Brendan Morrow story. Because I did think that, Brendan Morrow is that type of guy. When I played hockey, and I played a summer of ice hockey back like 20 years ago when ice hockey was first starting around this area. And I was that guy who could stand in front of the net. I couldn't really skate very well, and I didn't have a great shot, but I could stand in front of the net and crash and pick up rebounds, and I could score. Somehow I had that touch for scoring, but it was just a matter of what rebounds I could collect and how that would work for me. And that's what I used to do when we played street hockey or roller hockey as well around. But yeah, I was that guy. It sucks. Of course, when we were in Super Bowl in Miami this year, Jason Witten's there, and he would predict numbers, so we had a chance to sit down and talk to him for a bit. And Jacques knows Witten really well, obviously. And Jacques tells Jason Witten, Matt bought your jersey. You're his favorite player of all time. I'm just like, why does this need to be a thing right now? And Witten just looks at me, and I just shrug my eyes like, I don't, It's true. I love you. And that was great. So there's that. But yeah, old Prestonwood Mall, man. I remember that. That and the Galleria used to be the only places that had ice, and then they tore down Prestonwood and they built whatever that is over there now, like in Addison, just north of Beltline, like apartments and like a Houlihan's or whatever, and stores and a Walmart or whatever that they put on that, one of those types of things. Old Prestonwood Mall. That and the Galleria were it as far as I can recall back in the day. In the Galleria, why is there a fly on me? God, do I smell like something wrong? This fly has been here all day. Obviously, there's nothing here for you, fly. Jeez. Let me tell you guys about this before I forget, because I wanted us to tell you about this, but they're doing this wrestling thing out here at Oak Highlands Brewing coming up next Saturday. And that'll be next Saturday, November 14th. And it's a family, kid-friendly thing. It's going to be outside in the parking lot. They're doing where you can reserve a table up to 8, a 20-man over-the-top battle royale. It is called a Brawl for It All 3, a night of pro wrestling. 2 incredible main events. And again, you can contact Oak Highlands Brewing to reserve your tickets at oakhighlandsbrewery.com. And so you can check that out. Again, I am unfamiliar with any of the people on this. Maybe some of you guys out there know who these people are. I believe they're just local guys. I don't know. But sounds kind of fun. I talked to the promoter earlier, and he seemed like a legit dude. I'm not really a wrestling fan, no. My wrestling knowledge probably goes back to when I was a kid in the late 80s with Sting and Ric Flair and those guys, the Steiner brothers or whoever was around back then, Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Junkyard Dog and guys like that. I used to love Sting. Sting was my guy when I would wrestle with my brother. But I used to call myself, because me and my brother would fight a lot and wrestle a lot, and I would call myself the American Freight Train McLaren, and that was my name. So that was pretty cool. And I used to have this badass move where whenever we would I don't know if you guys ever did this, if you have brothers or whatever that you would wrestle with, but we would clear a room and each of us would introduce the other. And so we'd be like, all right, who do you want to be? He's like, all right, coming in now at 200 or whatever. We would make it up. I mean, we're little kids. 200 pounds, the heavyweight champion of the world, Matt, the American Freight Train McLaren. And I would come in, I'm like, and I did that. That's so lame, but also kind of badass. And that was my move. That was my move where I was a kid. I'd pummel him like that. It was my freight train move, like the wheels of the train turning. Yes, ultimate. We used to do that in high school. Me and my brother, we got really into UFC when it first came around when we were in high school. And our friends, we'd just be hanging out and we would declare ultimate and just start beating the crap out of each other. Although we never punched in the face. You were not allowed to punch in the face because if we left a mark, then our parents would know that we were fighting each other. So it would only be body shots. Like Chris would sit on my head and punch my kidneys until he thought I would pee blood. And he got to the point, he was much stronger than me. So he would choke me and stuff. And I refused to tap. So I passed out a couple of times. But outside of that, we would just punch the crap out of each other, and kick and stuff like that. But as long as we didn't hit in the face, it was no holds barred. And that worked pretty well for a while. That was all right. But that was a good time, man. A good time. God, a few of you have said you missed the funny voices. What funny voices did I just do? I was just doing normal voices, talking like myself. See, this is going to run into a problem. The fact that Jacques had to leave early and I've got to fill another 40 minutes, I'm going to have to pee at some point. This is going to be really bad. And then all you guys are going to leave and I'll come back. There won't be anybody here and I'll just stop doing it. But yes, as I continue, and again, for those of you that are joining us, I know some of you are jumping in now. Jacques had to leave. His son is making his varsity debut tonight, DeSoto and Cedar Hill. So obviously a very big deal, and Jacques was not going to miss that, him running out of the tunnel and all that. So Jacques left about half an hour ago. And so I am on my lonesome, and I'm going to try to make it up till 6 o'clock tonight to hang out with you guys. And, if you've got questions, I'm here to talk with you guys, man. Whatever you want to talk about is cool. I had some things written down. I didn't know Jacques was going to leave so early. And so some of the things we got to, we talked about Pittsburgh and the Cowboys quarterback conundrum. And I might go through some of that again for some of you that are newer that have jumped in here on the chat. Are we going to do bad karaoke? Sucky Sports karaoke is something that we're trying to figure out how to do. The thing of it is, we would like to do it with just more than me and Jacques. And I mean, reality of it is everybody lost their job, right? So when ESPN decided to go all national programming, I think it was 16 people that lost their job, if I recall, somewhere in that neighborhood. So it wasn't just me and Jacques and Steve Dennis. You know, Alan lost his job, and DJ and Tyler and all these people that help out behind the scenes also lost their jobs. So, of course, they have to go out and get new jobs. And, you know, I know Alan is trying to get something and DJ and all this. So it's hard to figure out when everybody can get together to try and record a Sucky Sports karaoke type thing. So we may try it with just me and Jacques. We wanted to get DJ and Alan in on it, but it's hard to work out with everybody's new schedules to do something like that because it's just an unfortunate scenario. So somebody said, what brewery would you go to in the United States? Russian River or The Alchemist? Probably Russian River. Probably if I could pick one brewery to go to. God, now that I say that, I don't know. Trillium, Treehouse would be up there. Russian River for sure would be up there, and The Alchemist. Those are probably my top four that I would like to get to at some point in my life. I was supposed to go to Trillium and Treehouse this summer, so thanks a lot, COVID, you ass. That ended that. So it's just, again, it's hard to, because a lot of the times when we're doing this podcast, Jacques and I record it at random times. It's basically whenever we can do it with each other. And so on Sundays, for instance, after the Cowboys game, we try to do it around Jacques because he does that TV bit on NBC after Cowboys games. So we try to work around that. And then outside of that, you know, we always record on Tuesdays. Sometimes it's in the morning. Sometimes it's in the evenings. And on Thursdays, we're out usually at a different local brewery, sitting down with them and having a chat. So really, it just depends like that, how that works with everybody's schedule for us to then pull in some other people to put that all together. But we'll see. If Dez has success, no. Dez is not ever going to play at the Cowboys again. And keep in mind, unless they activated into the roster today, he's still a practice squad guy for the Ravens. So, I mean, I don't think that that's ever going to happen again. They like Cedric Wilson quite a bit as a fourth receiver. And, you know, you're talking about a guy that hasn't played in 2 years. And apparently you'd rather have him versus a young type of guy like a Cedric Wilson who they have high hopes on, or somebody like that. You know, Noah Brown, who they like a lot as a blocking receiver. But then it becomes something, if you're a fourth or a fifth receiver, can you play special teams? So then if you can't play special teams, then why are you on the team? So we're going to assign you to be our fourth or fifth guy. You're barely going to ever get on the field. You're only going to play receiver and not special teams. What's the point? You know, you're better off having a younger guy that you can throw out there that can at least help you out on special teams a little bit. Is Steve Dennis okay? I don't know. I haven't talked to Steve. I don't know. I guess I talked to him a couple of days after we all wrapped it up. So, yeah, as far as I know, he's okay. I mean, Steve's good, man. Steve's been around this area for a long time. His wife, you know, they do good, man. Steve's living the life. I'm sure he probably likes this better. He just plays golf all day. I'm sure he loves it. I don't know. Excuse me. So, yeah, Craig was asking, you know, Stars thoughts. And Jacques and I kind of talked about this last Friday. But, you know, it'll be interesting. I think they got the guys back that they needed to. Obviously, Ben Bishop and Tyler Sagan are going to be out for a while since they're probably not going to be back till around April at some point. But that's why they brought in Hudobin, right? So Ettinger is going to have a chance, and maybe he shows enough to where they end up where they don't even want Bishop anymore, and they figure out a way to move on from him. But I thought, you know, Hudobin showed a lot this season, and that'll be interesting to see. Without Sagan, does it give somebody like a Foxa or a Gurianov or a Hintz or somebody that can step into that role and give you a little bit more goal scoring? And then maybe when Sagan comes back, since he misses a few months of the season, whenever it starts, I'm saying a few months, for all I know, it's a month. But whatever it is, whenever they decide to get the season underway, maybe he comes back and he's got fresh legs. I like the core of what this team is. I like their blue line. I like their defense. You know, I think they play for Rick. I think what we saw this year was not a fluke. This is a group of guys that can really gel well together and play well together. I mean, you know as well as I do. I mean, in hockey, anything can happen. But if they can consistently get that type of goaltending and some of the contract, like I'm really excited to see Harley. I hope that they give him a legit look this year. And if they can do some of those things on the blue line, you know, Klingberg, I think, let people know, hey, I get Haskinen's here. Let's not forget about me. I was a Norris Trophy candidate that we all thought was going to be for a reason. Really, why are you concerned with the blue line? I think the blue line has so much depth, man. I mean, with Klingberg and Heiskanen and I mean, who knows? Harley may end up being that type of guy as well. I'm kind of excited about that. Yeah, I saw the house. Luka Doncic bought a house in Preston Hollow for like $2.4 million or whatever. It's got a pool, had a nice little birdhouse in the backyard. Looked like the type of place that a typical 21-year-old would live in, so good for him. Must be nice to be rich. All I can tell you this, my house would fit in one of his rooms. I don't know. What would Chris Paul do? Luka's your ball handler. You know, I don't think that they want to bring in any. That's part of the reason why they got rid of Dennis Smith very quickly. They realized we want Luka to be the guy with the ball that brings the ball up. You need somebody that can play off Luka, not somebody else that's a ball handler that the offense kind of goes and he starts it. I mean, everything goes through Luka, so you got to have somebody that can play off of Luka. What they need is a wing and three guy, a 3-and-D guy on the wing, you know. And if you can get a 3-and-D guy, I don't know. It's hard to say. Where would they come from? Is there that type of guy out there that is available to you that complements them? Maybe not this summer. And they don't really have a lot of room to work with that. I think, you know, probably one of those things where they have the 2 draft picks at 18, I believe, and 31, 32, whatever it is, you know, where maybe you could make a move to pick up somebody. But then again, if we're talking about that level of 3-and-D player, then a lot of teams are looking for that guy. So why are they getting rid of him? You know what I mean? They have that mid-level trade exception they could work with that. Maybe they could do something with that. I don't think that the Mavs have like a move in them this offseason that's going to drastically change it. I think it's the season after this season, in the 2021 offseason when Giannis is a free agent. We'll see how some other things, you know, that's where all these teams are loading up and looking to go. But it's a matter of finding that fit with Luka and KP. And quite honestly, you know, I could see it where, you know, like if a Giannis comes in here or somebody, KP becomes your third option. I don't even know if he cares about that. All right, Russell Hacker. The wife's up my ass. I got to go. That's awesome. Oh, it's facing. That's great. That's fantastic. Steve Dennis once told me that every radio personality has one listener that they wished wouldn't listen to them, and I was his. Damn, really? That's harsh, man. I've never thought that of anybody. I've always thought it was interesting in my radio career, the people that come up to you to tell you they don't listen. You know, like I think I've told this story on the air before, and this was years ago when I was in Alabama. I was on a date with the girl, and I was at dinner, and we're sitting there. This guy comes up to the table, and he goes, "Hey, are you Matt?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, what's going on?" And he was like, "Your show sucks." And I just started laughing. And I go, "Thanks. I appreciate you listening." And he goes, "I don't listen." And I mean, without hesitation, I go, "Then how do you know that my show sucks?" And he just looked at me. He didn't know what to do. And I was like, "All right." And he just walks off. And then the girl, I was just, she's, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." He's like, "I'm not. I mean, that dude loves the show. I mean, he sought me out to tell me the show sucks. How does he know if he doesn't listen?" And you know, how this is a Howard Stern thing. And this was like, if you've ever seen Private Parts, the movie with Howard Stern, you know, that was when people first started to realize, and I don't know why you guys do this, but people that don't like the show generally listen longer than people who do. And, you know, they've done some studies on this. And the reason why is they want to listen so that they have ammunition to tell you how much you suck or what you did wrong. And I've always thought that was so weird. Like we have some people, and I just started muting them on Twitter. You know, like it's my Twitter. I'm not going to expose myself to that crap. A lot of the times I'm like, I'll let you say a couple of things to me, but if that's just what you're constantly going to do, it's not going to happen for you. Because I just, whatever, you know, double birds to you. You don't know me. I don't know you. I'm not going to subject myself to your ridiculous crap constantly about you suck and you're an idiot and all. Okay, great. You get twice. You can tell me that twice. Third time, I'll never see you again. It doesn't matter. And I just mute you and you think I'm reading it. And I'm not. And then you're just sitting there in your bathroom alone in your mom's basement, you know, doing what you got to do for yourself. But I've always thought that was really weird. I told a guy once that listened to the show, and this is before I started muting people, and he just kept coming at me. And I said, "Dude, you know," I direct messaged him. I said, "What happened in your life where you're so miserable?" He's like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, I just don't get it. Like, all you do is attack me. If you hate it so, like, and I really don't. I was like, if you hate it so much, why would you expose yourself to such negativity on a daily basis to where you get this infuriated by it? It's just not worth it. Like, what's going on in your life, man? And this guy would go back and forth, and I just kept going. I was like, you know what? Hey, man, meet me at a brewery, and I'll buy you a beer. Let's sit down and talk, because I'm fascinated by you. And then finally he said, well, I just work a job I don't like, and I wish I could do what you do. You seem like a decent enough guy. I was like, all right, so we get to the core of the problem. And I always tell people this, and I've said this on the show before. This is like my whole I'm just a guy thing, right? Like, I don't think I'm better than anybody because I did a radio show or I do a podcast or anything like that. I mean, a lot of you are probably better than me as a human being. I just think that this is something that I wanted to do my whole life, that I love doing, that I worked my ass off to do. And I always thought, reality of it is, a lot of people are like, man, I could talk sports in the radio. Maybe you could. And I always say this, and this is true. Could you do the 10 years it took me to get here? And that's the question, because it's not like you just walk in off the street and walk into a radio studio and start talking sports in a top 5 market. It just doesn't happen that way. I lived in Butthole, Florida, in the middle of nowhere, in a shit apartment with roaches crawling around, doing a morning show because I got to be on the air every day. And I did not like that at all. And I mean, that was tough. I've been let go many times. I used to tell this story when I first got out of college and I had this opportunity. I lived in Dallas. All right. I lived in Dallas. There's a talk radio station in San Antonio that for whatever reason brought me on part-time. And the station, I think it was KTSA. And the station in San Antonio would call me, like 4th of July was an example of this. Dude calls me on the night of July 3rd and says, all right, so I get off the phone with them. I get in my car. I drive 5 hours to San Antonio in the middle of the night, show up at the station about 4:30 to go on the air at 5. And then he tells me, all right, well, he's going to be here tomorrow, but thanks for coming down. So I drive 5 hours back home. And then there's a couple of times where that would happen where they would call me last second. And my brother lives in Austin. So I would be like, hey, is it cool if I come and stay with you because they want me in the morning and I can leave now and crash at your place so I don't have to drive as far in the morning. I'll just drive from your apartment. And I never did more than one day at a time there, but that's what it is. Like, I could be on the air. I never turned down an opportunity. And that was the path that I went to, man. And I just was trying to do whatever I could to be on the air and to work on my craft and to kind of refine what it is that I do. And it's pretty cool. I mean, I like it. I think it's awesome. But, a lot of people don't understand like the path, especially when you're not like some of the people that are on, like that were ex-athletes, or like Jacques is a great example. Jacques has a stellar career. He's an award-winning journalist that has written books, who has a lot of great contacts. But when you're just a guy, and you got to work your ass off to kind of build your way up there to show I can do this and I'm willing to do whatever it takes, that's a different path. And so that's why sometimes when people will attack me and they'll say things to me on Twitter, I just kind of laugh. At this point, I do. I mean, I'll never forget the first time I was ever on the radio in college. And some of you know this, I did a year at Howard Payne. And the first radio station I was ever on, technically, was KMOO radio. So in college, my first show, I did the morning show at my college radio station, 91.7 KHPU out in Brownwood. And I would get up in college at 5:30 in the morning to do a 6 to 9 radio show 5 days a week in college. So I didn't party. I didn't do anything. Just got up in the morning, went and did a radio show. And I'll never forget, at some point, some dude calls the station. He goes, hey, is this the guy on the air? I'm like, yeah. He goes, God, you suck. I can't believe they let you on the air. This is the first time that ever happened. The first time that happens, I mean, obviously I haven't forgotten it. I mean, it sticks with you. Like you're just, it kind of shakes you. You got to go do your next break and you're sitting there, and you're like, oh, and then you're afraid to talk because you're like, oh my God, I suck. Like this, I suck. I thought I was doing okay and I suck. And then you realize you hear it enough from people and you're like, well, I mean, what do you care? I got whatever. You think I suck? Well, cool. Thanks, dude. Appreciate you. I think it's funny. But to those, I do think it's interesting in today's world that people feel the need on social media to reach out in a negative way to try and hurt somebody else. I think that I'm more fascinated by it than anything else. Like what is wrong with you in your life where you take the time out of your day to be like, hey man, you suck at what you do. And then you feel good about it. You're like, hell yeah. Yeah. I feel better now. Really? Like, why not try to build people up? And if you don't like it, just stop listening or go do something else, whatever you want. It's your choice. It's like that in anything, I think, I think it's one of those things like, why don't we build people up more? And I appreciate constructive criticism. Like some of you that have, a few people that have emailed about the podcast or whatever. And I know some people don't like it necessarily when we drop an F-bomb and things like that. somebody a salty language, whatever you want to call it. I can understand that. I don't have a problem with that. I think that's constructive criticism. But the people that will reach out and like, man, you suck, some of the worst things that people say to you, you remember, and you just wonder, like, I hope that person's okay. Like, I hope they didn't off themselves, because obviously they hate their life so much. And that's unfortunate, because what we always wanted to do here on Jam Session was just to hang out with you guys and make it feel like this. Now, if Jacques was here, he would agree. But just to make it feel like you're hanging out at a bar or a brewery with your friends, talking sports, talking life, talking beer, whatever it is, and just having a good conversation. And if you don't like the conversation, much like you would at any place, you would just go to the next table or go wherever. You wouldn't walk up to that table and be like, man, your conversation sucks. I hope you all die in a car wreck tonight. I mean, what are we doing, right? But, if it makes you feel better, you can say it to me and I'll be fine. Doesn't bother me. All right? Because I say cheers to you guys. Now, I just went off on a weird-ass tangent. I get it. But I was prompted by that and went from one story to the next. And this is what happens when I've got to fill all this time and nobody's here to stop me. I just keep going. But for those of you that are joining, Jacques had to leave a little early. He was sitting right here at this microphone, but he had to leave. His son is going to play varsity football for the first time tonight in the DeSoto Cedar Hill matchup. So I'm out here by my lonesome at Highlands Brewing. We're out here on Fridays at 4:00 to clear my throat. One moment. We're out here on Friday at 4:00. We do 2 hours live at Highlands Brewery. And Highlands is just north of 635 off of Miller or Plano Road, whichever way you're coming, because you know how it is. Like 635 is right here, and Miller and Plano kind of go like that. So it's right in that little area for you. I'm drinking their vanilla porter on a coffee Merkin. Firkin. A coffee Merkin. A Merkin is a pubic wig. I hope it's not a coffee Merkin. That's disgusting. I meant Firkin. What's the shirt I have on? This is ETX Brewing. It's a brewery. ETX is out in Tyler, in downtown Tyler. They're really cool too, man. We went out there on one of our furlough weeks and spent a couple of days out in East Texas and just kind of enjoyed that. There's some good breweries out there. ETX in Tyler, True Vine in Tyler. And then if you get a chance when you're making your way back through in Sulphur Springs, Backstory Brewing is a really cool space. For those of you that live out on the east side, if you can make it out to Sulphur Springs, Backstory has a huge patio, like a huge outdoor area, and is brewing some really good beers. They're good dudes. So there's a few out there. There's one in Winsboro. I can't remember the name of it. Like this random little small brewery that when you pull up to it, you're like, there is no way this is a brewery. But it is in Winsboro. For those of you that know East Texas, you're like me. You're going, how the hell is there a brewery in Winsboro? But there is. I'm telling you. Yeah, so there's that. We will have some t-shirts, some Jam Session t-shirts available, hopefully in the next couple of weeks on our website. So for those that haven't seen the website, check it out at Jam Session Podcast. Keep downloading the podcast. We will continue to pump out 3 episodes a week on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays that you can download wherever you listen to your podcasts. And then, of course, we'll be available for you here on Friday afternoons, Friday evenings at 4:00 out here at OHB, Highlands Brewery. So hopefully Jacques won't have to leave early again. But if you want to talk Dallas-Pittsburgh, we can do that. If you have some other questions, you want to talk here, whatever it is. Jacques' pick for the game was 31-0 Pittsburgh. He does not believe Dallas is going to score this week. My pick for the game, and we do this from time to time where we'll have very similar scores, but we don't ever look at each other's notes or anything. My pick for the game was 31-6. Then I told him when we discussed this on the podcast that dropped today, I said, my thing is because of Greg Zuerlein's leg, I have a feeling that they'll be able to get close enough where they can at least attempt a couple of field goals. And I have a belief that Greg Zuerlein can kick a 55 or a 60-yard field goal to get some points on the board for Dallas. I don't think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be one of those games where Pittsburgh smokes them in the first half, and you could see it being something like 24-3 at halftime. And then, they come out in the second half, and it's basically like, okay, let's not get anybody hurt, and let's try to get the hell out of here. And then Pittsburgh scores a touchdown, and Dallas kicks another field goal. And it's like 7-3 in the second half, something like that. So to me, I can see it kind of going that route. We'll see. I do think it's interesting that Mike McCarthy decides that he needs more experience at quarterback and is going to decide between Cooper Rush and Garrett Gilbert, who have never started an NFL game and who are a combined 3 of 9 for 42 yards passing in their NFL careers. And apparently that's supposed to be more experience. We'll see. Kind of think It'll be Garrett Gilbert getting a chance. And if he sucks, maybe they yank him and they put in Cooper Rush. I mean, at this point, what do you have to lose? Hell, maybe Cedric Wilson gets an opportunity. So Andrew says, will the Rangers win a World Series before we all die? I don't know, man. I'd like to think I live till 100, which gives me almost 60 years. But I honestly don't know. I'd accepted a long time ago the Rangers would never make the World Series. And then they made it. And then I thought, when they lost the Giants, I think, like, I didn't care. Who cares? They made the World Series. I don't give a crap they lost to the Giants. This is awesome. Then they made it again the next year. I'm like, oh, my God, we are going to win a World Series. And as that ball was in the air to Nelson Cruz, however long that ball was in the air, whatever that is, 3 or 4 seconds, I just thought, this is it. Like, there was that collective pause of breath where we were all going to explode into celebration, and it didn't happen. And I don't know, man. I think about that sometimes. I wonder, are we just that team that's always forever going to have that thing where we were 2 strikes away or 1 strike away twice to winning a World Series and it just didn't happen? I don't know. I hope not, because that would be the one thing in my sports fandom that I've never experienced that I would love to experience more than anything is the Rangers winning the World Series. I don't know if it happens or not. I really don't. Not going to happen anytime soon. I think we're all fairly confident in that. I hope it does, man. Because I'll be right there with you in line at Dick's or Academy or wherever, buying all that gear I can. I mean, I'll be decked out. Hat, shirt, hoodie, whatever. Underwear, shorts, whatever they got. World Series champions. My God, that would be incredible to experience together. So we shall see. Darlene asked, do you think KP will stay healthy long enough to make a difference since he left after? Yeah, you know what? The interesting thing of it is that historically big men in the NBA, and I'm talking guys that are that tall, like 7'3" and taller, historically do not hold up. You know, you can go back through the list, like Sean Bradley had problems, and Yao Ming and George Mirasan, all these guys that have had problems with their legs over the course of time. And it just makes you feel that maybe humans at some point evolved to a point where we're not supposed to be that tall, that big, and to be able to do some of those things. And I do wonder that with KP, because he's right on the cusp at 7'3" of a guy that when you look throughout the history of the NBA, once you started getting to 7 the duration of their careers, when they're healthy, Yao Ming's a great example of this. You know, when they're healthy, they're really, really good, but they can't stay healthy. They struggle with those things over the course. It ends up being a detriment. And you kind of always look back and you go, man, what if? Like, what if KP was 7 foot instead of 7'3"? Would that make a difference? I don't know. Maybe. You know, Shaq was a big guy, but he wasn't 7'3". And we'll see. I hope that the knee issues that he's having is not a sign that this is historically going to be something that he has to deal with throughout the course of his life, of his career. But then again, maybe it is. Maybe a 7'3" dude is not meant to run up and down the floor like that and to jump like that and to do some of the things that he does, banging bodies and stuff like that on the paint of the NBA. And that would suck if he's going to struggle doing that. I don't know. Oh no, what's the problem? You guys don't like my picture? Oh, I look digitized? Yeah, I don't know, guys. I mean, it could be a problem with the feed, the internet. There's a ton of people in here. The internet connection here has never really been that great. So we try to get along with it with what we can. But we'll see. Luka does need help. You're right. Luka needs help. But then where do you get that help? You know, is it KP? If it's not KP, then who is it that they can find that's out there? Is it maybe piecing together the 2 picks this year to try to jump higher and find help? Is it next year in free agency with that big class coming out in 2021? You know, maybe there is. You know, I agree with you, Mike. They need a 3-and-D guy. They need a dude who can stand in the corner, and it was supposed to be Seth Curry, not D, but 3. But you got to have a dude when you're wide open can hit shots. Hardaway's too streaky for me. You know, Finney Smith right now is their best defender. I don't know that anybody would say Finney Smith is some elite level defender. He's a above average NBA defender, but they need another guy like that can stand out, hit open shots, and shut it down. God, that would be weird. If the Cowboys beat the Steelers but lose to everyone else, that would suck. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I hope the Cowboys lose the rest of their games. There's no sense in winning. I'd love to see what happens if they end up with the top 2 pick. You know, I'd love to see what happens, the decision that they would have to make between drafting either Sewell as the left tackle of the future, Justin Fields or Trey Lance at quarterback, or do you pick up the phone when somebody calls and they want to jump up and they're going to give you swap first this year, giving you a first next year? You're picking up an extra second, an extra third along the way. Would I do that? Absolutely. Would I take a QB and walk away from Dak? Only with the number 1 overall pick, which I don't think they're going to win up. I would draft Trevor Lawrence because then you don't have to tag Dak at 37-7. And I love Dak. I think anybody who's listening to the show knows that. I absolutely love Dak. I think you can win with the guy. But if you can free up almost $40 million in cap space with a generational quarterback prospect, a prospect that across the board, people will tell you is the best kid to come out since Andrew Luck. And then Andrew Luck was the best to come out since Peyton Manning. If you can walk away from that and you're not a franchise that's going to totally screw them up like the Jets or the Browns or somebody like that, and you've got weapons in place, I think you could win pretty quick with the Trevor Lawrence. And he's got that leadership. He's got the moxie. He can make all the throws. I'm not sold on Justin Fields. Outside of Trevor Lawrence is probably the only guy I would do it for, which means you have to have the number 1 overall pick. And I don't know if they're going to end up with that. Outside of that, if they end up with 2, unless you're just convinced that Sewell is the next Tyron Smith, I would trade down from 2 to somebody that wants to come up and get Fields or Lance and trade down to like 7, 8, 9, get that bevy of picks, and then load up and see what that is. Yeah, hopefully we'll get out to Fort Worth soon. I got to talk to some of my brewery friends over there and see if we can get out to a brewery over there to do some things, maybe at Martin House. I know some people over there. If you guys are more connected, like Funky Picnic, places like that, maybe Hot Fusion over in that area on the south side. Panther Island does some good stuff. I mean, there's a lot of good breweries over there in Fort Worth that are doing some really good things. But yeah, we'd like to get over there where we may do something. It's not Fort Worth, but False Idol, who did the Jam Session IPA, we may do something with False Idol that would get us at least in that direction out a little bit more west, because they're in North Richland Hills. Now I know if you live, depending on where you live in Fort Worth, that could be tougher for you, because then you're talking about having to make that trek to North Richland Hills. Depending on where you live, like I said, that could even be 30 minutes. But we're trying to get out and do a little bit more things that aren't, because obviously OHB is, kind of on the northeast side of Dallas. We're probably about, 5 to 10 minutes from 75. I guess closer to 10 minutes from 75 east, up there in the Garland area. So yeah, we're hoping as we grow this thing and we start to get some sponsors and we can talk to some people and get some exposure, that we can do something closer to downtown Dallas and then something over on the west side as well, whether it's Fort Worth or, like I said, False Idol or something like that. So we will see. I was at False Idol a little over a week ago and they still had Jam Session on tap at False Idol. I don't know if they still do. I would check their website and see. They're pretty good at keeping up with what they have on tap. That's a damn good beer. Like a legit, really good beer, like really good. Not just because they made it for us, but even if they had made it for us, it's a Mosaic Citra beer, and it really comes through with that citrus. And on the back, you get a little bit of the pine from the Mosaic, so a little bit of that dankness. It's super soft. It drinks really well. It's fantastic. Fantastic beer. So, yeah. And I know Thirsty Growler picked up a keg of it. Taps and Caps in Fort Worth picked up, I think, a keg of it. A couple of places around, like the northwest outskirt type thing, picked up some of it. So, try some of that. The Hacker, I don't know if I have had that. I don't think I have. It doesn't sound familiar. But here we are, just a few more minutes to go. I got to pee really bad. So will I make it 6 more minutes, or will I just go in my pants? That's what we're all waiting to see, right? I would encourage you guys, you're seeing some of our sponsors in the chat. Please support our sponsors, because they're doing a lot to help support us, which is really cool. If you are interested, as you see in the chat there, if you have a local business or would be interested in helping sponsor the show, please check us out. You can email me at matt@jamsessionpodcast.com. Don't forget, you can always find us on Twitter at McMattRadio, at JJT_journalist, as we continue to try to grow this thing. Some of our sponsors, Blue Star Motor Group. If you're looking for a certified high-quality pre-owned car, all of them are Carfax certified. Check those guys out at bluestarmotorgroup.com. Freeway Tire Shop, which is right there off of 35, right before the 183, or I guess technically if you're coming down, I'm talking about like if you're coming south into Dallas, it's before the split, and check that out. And support those guys at Freeway Tire Shop for all your car needs and mechanical needs and things like that. They are really doing a great thing to help us out. False Idol Brewing sponsored the show, brewed that beer for us. Check them out. Beer Geeks in Rockwall, of course. And we really appreciate what they're doing. The wings at Kroger, I am telling you, I literally bought 3 pounds of the wings at Kroger, the mango habanero, the buffalo blue cheese. Not both flavors are available at every Kroger. So keep that in mind. Some of them are basically one flavor, and some have both flavors, but they are available at North Texas Kroger's. And then Lauren Laddig at Edward Jones, financial advisor. Give her a call. Check her out. She can help you do stuff like that. So, yeah, we'll see. I know some of you have been asking about a Patreon. We'll see. One thing that'll help us out is when we start getting merch up on the site. If you guys purchase a T-shirt, that helps as well, and that'll help us to be able to get some more merch. I told Jacques, I was like, I really want to do some hoodies at some point and some hats, because obviously I'm a hat guy, and get some of those things. So all this is in the works. I mean, we're 3 weeks removed basically from the end of the show on the radio. And so as we continue to do some things here, filling in at the ticket to try and get some exposure, and doing some things with the podcast and growing that, and finding out different ways to try to get out live and do some more YouTube lives and things like that. So all this is in the works as we continue to grow. It's just a building process. But yeah, hats definitely. We're going to see how the first run of T-shirts goes. And then once we get past that and we have a better gauge, then from there, we'll expand more out into, like I said, doing some hoodies and some hats, especially with some jam session stuff that'll be available on the website. But like I said, man, I mean, this is new for both of us, and 3 weeks in, really appreciate all of you guys, not just on YouTube Live, but those of you that are watching, downloading daily, or 3 times a week, I guess, the podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts, whether it's Apple or Spotify or Amazon or whatever, that goes a long way. And we really appreciate the support that a lot of you guys have given us to help keep this thing going since we left the radio. But even though Jacques would back this up, he likes it, and I like it even more than the radio, because you can listen to it whenever you want. You don't ever have to miss anything. And we can, like tonight, if I want to spend 20 minutes talking about beer, I can do it without having to look at a clock and be like, oh no, we got to take a break. So we do what we do, man, and really, really appreciate you guys' support. Thank you so much. But I think that's going to wrap it up. I really got to pee, and there's no sense since it's 6 o'clock and peeing and coming back, but appreciate it. If you get a chance, please, we'll be here next Friday. Make plans to come on out to Oak Highlands Brewing here in the North Dallas Garland area off Miller and 635. And don't forget, check out Oak Highlands Brewing, oakhighlandsbrewing.com. If you are a wrestling fan, this is a family, kid-friendly event that they are doing next Saturday. Next Saturday evening, you can get tickets and reserve a table for up to 8. It'll be outside, socially distanced, November 14th here at Oak Highlands Brewery, and we will be back with you next Friday. Find the podcast, subscribe, rate, review. Find us on Twitter. We appreciate it, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much for being a part of this tonight here at Oak Highlands Brewery.